White authors don't have to include loads of diversity. A lot of the TikTok popular books are not as good as lesser known ones. My room is so messy. Okay, so I'm sad. I'm in a chatty mood. So in this video, I'm gonna be talking about some unpopular book. I literally am taking off my socks as we speak. Unpopular book opinions. I've done a couple of these videos in the past. I have a lot of opinions and I want to talk about it. I also asked on my Instagram story for you guys to submit your unpopular book opinions. So we're also gonna be going through those. I don't know what happened this time around, but some of them were actually jail. I have a couple here, but I'm gonna start out with the one that I was thinking about. And this is like something that I've mentioned in my videos before, but I've never like really gone into it. But I feel so strongly about it now, and I'm calling myself out about this too. Basically, the other night, my roommates and I, we were just like sitting on the floor talking, and then we decided to go around and talk about each of our most cancelable trait, the thing that we would get canceled for. Oh my gosh, imagine I spent the rest of this video, it's just me flaming my roommates on the internet. I said that my own most cancelable trait was like the fact that I could do better at reading more diversely. I love romance. It's like my favorite part of like a book that I read is like the romance in it. And the majority of the books that I read, like the romances that I love and stuff, are straight romances. And I could do a way better job. I know that I can, of expanding and reading more queer LGBTQ stories. Like I know that I can do better, like so much better. And it doesn't even just go for that, like just anything. Like, or books with characters with disabilities. I'm calling myself out. I know that I could do a better job. And one of my roommates said to this, if you just have like a preference, it's because it's like more relatable to you, then like I don't see where the problem is. And to that I was just like, that's not enough. The more that especially communities and people who have been living on the margins of society, like things just aren't enough anymore. I explained this in a video briefly. I have a really hard time finishing memoirs that are just by white authors and just like white stories. And it's not because I think that they're a bad writer or it's like a bad memoir, but I genuinely like get this feeling. It's like a tangible feeling when I'm reading this book. It just feels like is that harsh? It just feels like a little bit empty in my perspective of me reading it. If it's like not intersectional in some way, I just simply get so uninterested in it. I don't know how to explain it. In fiction and stuff too. And low-key, I feel like this is also the reason why I've been so averse to like YA contemporary books so much, is that like my history and like what I just saw all the time when I was like in middle school, it was just all white. It was just all white stories. And like that was enough to keep me entertained like at the time. But like the more time passes, it's just not enough anymore. And so to go back to what my friend was saying, my opinion about this is that if you're not like actively trying to diversify your reading and actively seeking out stories from underrepresented groups, I think the bare minimum should be actively and going out of your way to like find those books. Your personal preferences, you were not just born with it. Like there's a reason for it. Sometimes yes, the reason can be that it is more relatable, but also I feel like it's worth it to like interrogate that a little bit. It's a cute little unpacking. I feel like it's worth it to interrogate why you might not be acting on like a curiosity about people's experiences that are different from yours. I feel like not having a curiosity is also a statement. It does make you complicit, I feel like. And being complicit is such a clickbait. It makes you feel like you don't have a choice in the matter. It's so sneaky. It's literally clickbait because it makes you feel like you are not an active partaker in making that choice when that's not true, because you could actively choose to not do that, which is also equally a choice. Anyway, that is just my opinion. I don't even know if that's that unpopular, but like whatever, I'm just saying it because I haven't heard anyone talking about this. Like I said, I'm a perpetrator of this, which is why I've been thinking about this a lot. Zoning out of my kitchen for 20 minutes just before this, eating chips and queso. Also, just one last thing that I want to add into this, because I feel like this is something that someone could say, oh well, it's not my fault, like the publishing industry is always pushing these books, they're the ones that are most popular. I mean, yeah, because that is what has been created to be like the most packageable. But I'm like, okay, especially in this day and age, proximity should not even be a factor. How often is this on your For You page? How often do you see it on the bookshelf? That kind of proximity, like that should not even be a factor because it's so easy. I think that it is just an excuse to not put in the active work. People can find it. People put things out so that people can find it. It's so findable. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking about that. Okay, this is my opinion. That the most well done enemies to lovers is always gonna be better than the most well done friends to lovers. I know I'm biased. I'm an enemies to lovers girly. I know that I'm biased. There are friends to lovers books that I enjoyed way more than like some enemies to lovers books because they're like done not that well. But in my opinion, if you took like the best enemies to lovers book and then the best friends to lovers book, I'll probably like the enemies to lovers one way better. I think that a lot of that has to do with the fact that there's like more resistance, more of a battle to like go from enemies to lovers, and I love the battle. Like I love having to see people like work so hard for it. It's like a lot more rewarding in the end. I think that a lot of that also has to do with the fact that I've never once ever experienced anything that could even possibly be close to a friends to lovers in real life. My next unpopular opinion, YA contemporary is at the bottom. YA fantasy. YA dystopia. Yep, I'm still on that. And I will die on that hill. I think YA dystopia is like the superior YA genre. As we speak, my friends and I, we are literally planning like a Hunger Games themed night. I'm District 10 livestock, which is stressing me out. I'm trying to figure out what I should wear. YA dystopias are so good. I think that they're better than YA fantasies. It's like the same thing. I think the most well done YA dystopia versus the most well done YA fantasy versus the most well done YA contemporary. I think the YA dystopia is probably gonna be the best. I just think that's something about the whole point of a dystopia. There's something like rudimentary wrong with the world that everybody is complicit to it. How to revolutionize the world. So that's why I think that specifically YA dystopia. Like I think YA dystopia is better than adult dystopia. Specifically YA dystopia has to do with like the younger generation, which I feel like is the better story. Okay, my next point, YA fantasies are becoming empty, quantity over quality. I honestly think that a lot of it has to do with booktok. I'm sorry. Not necessarily like booktok like specifically, but I think it has a lot to do with like, I think it has to do with like the rise of short form media. Everybody wants to become more quick, and I feel like that's like negatively impacting YA fantasies especially. Because I remember when I first started reading YA fantasies, this was back in like middle school, still hold up as like better fantasies in my opinion, because the world was just so much more rich and the characters were so much more rich. Like everything was just higher quality. I think like the level of characterization and world building, just like a societal shift to things becoming faster and faster and faster, translated into books. What is becoming more marketable is like faster paced books, but by faster pace I feel like people incorrectly think that only translates to the plot, like trying to move through events as quick as possible, but like pace is not the plot. Pace and plot is not the same thing. I feel like everything is being displaced by plot, creating these like fantasies that I have no attachment to. I feel like it's really rare for me to like come across like a good fantasy book. I remember it not being like that when I was in middle school. Like most fantasy books were like really good. Okay, my next opinion, the best case scenario is when the two people in like a romance subplot simply meet each other in the first book and nothing else happens in the first book regarding their relationship. That is like the best case scenario. I will fight tooth and nail to find a book like that, and books that are like that automatically become my favorite books, where romance subplot in the book really only kicks off in the second book, and I love that stuff so much. Okay, those were all the opinions that I had. I'm gonna now go on to what you guys said in your unpopular opinions. Fluffy romance is just not it. You know what? I actually agree with this. I will always prefer like the most emotional, devastating, painful romance book over like a fluffy rom-com-y book. Yeah, you're so real for that. White authors don't have to include loads of diversity. You can talk about this with tons and tons of nuance, and people have done that, so you can definitely go watch other people talk about it too. I'm not gonna do that in this video. I know that the things that I'm saying is more of a generalization, and there's exceptions to everything. It's not a monolith, basically. In my opinion, I kind of agree with this comment. Sin of omission is better than a sin of commission. If you don't know, sin of omission is like when you don't include something, whereas a sin of commission is when you make an error because you say the wrong thing. I think this holds true in a lot of contexts. In my personal opinion, if I read a book and they didn't include, for example, a character that looked like me, versus that same book and they did include a character that looked like me, but it was like a horrendous depiction that was like massively violent and perpetuated like terrible stereotypes or misrepresentation, I would choose to read the first book over the second book. But this all is under the umbrella of the larger fact, which is that I just wouldn't read the book. I probably wouldn't read the book. There are better books out there. Why authors don't have to include loads of diversity? Yeah, they don't have to, because I think what's worse, actively spreading misinformation about something. But like I said, I probably wouldn't even read the book. You can write it, I probably won't read it though. A lot of the TikTok popular books are not as good as lesser known ones. I don't know, I think that there's like a certain connotation booktok books, and I think that a lot of it is like negative connotation. I feel like on my channel, I've tried really hard to make sure that I'm not casting judgment on those books just because I know that they're booktok books. That is like my biggest pet peeve, is people judging other people's book preferences. I'm not trying to like spread elitism in books. That's such an obscure place, but I do think that it would be very tone deaf of me not to acknowledge the fact that a lot of the booktok books that are popular are not very diverse books, and the reason for that extends beyond just booktok, but social media in general, because who are the biggest influencers in social media? They're mostly white people, and if they're, you know, talking most about white books, then those are the books that are gonna become popular. I try to be cognizant of that when I'm on booktok, and I think everyone should. No spice books are better. My personal preference agrees with this. I don't really enjoy reading smut that much. It won't deter me from reading a book, but I don't love it like other people love it. I just like it when it's slow burn, so like if they never end up getting together, that's like my best case scenario. Okay, someone said not a fan of a main romance plot. I am literally the main ambassador of this. Are you joshing me? A romance subplot is literally always gonna be better than a romance main plot. That's just a fact. Fantasy enemies to lovers is better than fantasy friends to lovers, which I agree, and I also agree the opposite, which is contemporary friends to lovers is better than fantasy friends to lovers. Oh my gosh, my sister commented. Oh my gosh, I sometimes forget that people in my real life like see this account. Oh my gosh, I just read this opinion that this was so funny to me. I cringe so hard when the main love interest's favorite color is the girl's eyes. BFFR. That's actually so true, bestie. You're so real for that. The best part of romance when they're not together. I completely agree. Also, my selection bias when I'm like picking these opinions are popping out so much right now. Oh, someone says I don't mind having real people on covers. You're powerful for that one. Okay, actually, do you know what my question is with that? Sometimes these people on the covers, it's like, what is that called? Uncanny valley? It's like something that's like hyper realistic, but then something about it doesn't look real. And it's like a weird in between. It makes you really uncomfortable. Some of these like real people and real faces on books be looking like that, which makes me think, okay, wait, was this an actual person model who like modeled for this book cover? Because then my question is, where are they? How do you get a jaw like that? Or if it's like graphically designed. Like, someone better speak up. Someone said I really like pregnancy trope. I have never heard that before. I have literally never heard anyone say that before. I'm not here to yuck anyone's yum. I despise music while reading only because I always get distracted and therefore am incapable. I agree with this. My issue is that I like the aesthetic of like listening to personalized playlists like that are specific to the book while you're reading the book. I feel like that's kind of iconic. Headphones, especially if music has words in it. I can't do both. I recently just decided to succumb to the fact that the only thing that helps me read is listening to gentle rain sounds. Like, I can't be like, oh, rainy cafe with jazz music in background. It literally has to be raw. Like, I want to feel like I'm in the rain. I think that that's where we're gonna end for today. Thank you guys for listening, coming to my TED Talk. I'll not be taking further questions. I literally just came on here to rant. So that's gonna be all for this video. If you guys have opinions, you can comment it down below. See ya. Love ya. See you in there. I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.